Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. I'm GoLocal Live contributor Chelsea Gay, live here in our downtown Providence studio with our weekly segment of what is happening in Rhode Island. And my first guest today, Keith Munslow from the Empire Revue, is here to talk with us about a really exciting musical that's happening this weekend, Benny's the Musical, which is the most Rhode Island thing I can think of at this point,
Certainly
probably.
is.
So, Keith, I want to talk about the musical, but first, let's talk about the Empire Revue and what you guys are doing over there and how this came to be.
So the Empire Revue is a sketch comedy show. It runs the first Sunday of every month at AS 220, and it has been for over 12 years. So we do a brand new show every single month. And last year we decided we were going to take Super Bowl Sunday off because nobody ever comes to the show on that Sunday. And so we had an extra month, and we decided to write a musical. And it was just around the same time that Benny's announced that it was closing. So we jumped on that, and we wrote Benny's the Musical, and we sent out a press release. And before we had our first brainstorming meeting, all the tickets sold, and so we were like, "Oh
like,
no!
I guess we have to do this.
I guess we have to do this." So we added a second show, and then long story short, we ended up doing it again at the Columbus Theater in May. And so this year we came around back to Super Bowl Sunday, and we didn't have another idea for a musical, so we said, "Let's remount it for another day."
Awesome.
So that's how it came to be.
So the cast just sort of, and the group at the Empire Revue just saw that it was closing, and that sort of inspired them
Exactly.
to think about this nostalgia.
Exactly, and also the thing that really struck us was that the story that we wanted to tell, and the story we ended up telling, was that it became really clear, both to us and people we talked to, how much emotionally it was affecting people, and also that hundreds, thousands of people lost their jobs. So there was a story to tell right there, and so it did really write itself. Like once we latched onto that.
It's the neighborhood store
It's the neighborhood store
since
for
everybody
a lot
can
of people.
remember. So
It's true.
it makes a lot of sense. So you wrote a lot of the music for Benny's the Musical, and so tell me about that process. Was it collaborative? I mean, how did it sort of grow from the music into the soundtrack and the words? How did that process go for you guys?
So the Empire Revue, the cast, which is called the Sparkling Beatniks, we write all of our shows collaboratively. So we got together and we brainstormed some characters and some storylines, and I wrote a lot of the music. One of our cast members, Tom Wright, wrote some of the music. All the lyrics were written by the cast. All of the dialogue and the script were created by the cast collaboratively. We just made a Google Doc, and we were all just in there working the script. So very collaborative project. And we we made a timeline. The first thing we did was made a timeline of the story, and then we put markers where we thought we needed songs emotionally. And so that's how that process went, and then tweaked them. And then for this run, we added a little bit of choreography, which is brand new for us because we're a sketch comedy troupe. So okay, now everybody's
you're dancing.
Yeah, now we're dancing. Surprise! And then we added made some edits to the script, and for this run, it's slightly different, but mostly it's the same as last time.
So what is going into this as a whole? I mean, is it the entire cast of the Empire Revue? Did you have to find additional people as well to participate? I mean, is it a full set? Like, what is it? What is the?
So the show is like 1 hour long, a little over an hour long, and it is the entire cast in the show. And we did kind of build the characters around the cast that we have, and wrote the show that way. One thing that we're adding this time that we didn't have last time is, and this again was from so many people asking us to record a cast recording of the show. So we've been in the studio for the last 2 months creating a cast recording, and it's almost finished, and we are going to have those for sale at the show on Sunday, and also on our Facebook page, which we encourage people to check out.
So people, how much people love Benny's because they want to
Exactly.
buy a soundtrack of Benny's
They want
the Musical.
it, yeah.
I mean, why not?
It's
fun.
a way of keeping it alive,
Exactly.
and yeah, people do have a lot of feelings, as evidenced by how they're reacting to the news that Job Lot's moving into some of those
How is
spaces.
the cast feeling about that?
I think Job Lot is a close second for sure, and Benny's was a place that we used to go to a lot to buy props, and now we don't have Benny's. So Job Lot, we actually talk about Job Lot in the show too, as I guess what I think is that because it's also a Rhode Island business, I would rather see a Rhode Island business go into those locations than just have a chain kind of swoop in.
That makes sense.
So it's still Rhode Island, and
Yeah.
and I think yesterday on Frank Latta's show he mentioned we get a net gain of one job lot because they're just relocating to other bands.
Exactly. They're just moving around.
Just moving around. It's
but
lateral.
It's funny. I mean, we covered the press release yesterday and the press conference, and there were people that were pretty unhappy that job lot was moving into the Benny space because Benny's was sort of your friendly neighborhood store.
And I think there are certainly people, and I get it, like that they won't be happy unless Benny's,
it just
comes back like the
somehow.
Phoenix.
Yeah, maybe that's why they're going to the musical. They're thinking somehow this is like a last-ditch effort to bring back Benny.
And we did, at the shows that we've done, I'm curious to see if this is happening again, but we did have a lot of former employees who came in groups and wore their name badges and sat together. So that was a really nice thing to see. We had a lot of people talk to us after the show, to tell us Benny's was their first job, and everybody we spoke to had stories, and so it really made us feel connected to the audience in a way that you don't normally get to when you're creating a piece of theater. One of our cast members said we had an opportunity to create a piece of theater for the very people who needed to hear it and see it. So that was a really unique experience for us too.
So it's the second year running. It's the third time you're running it.
Running it.
You've added choreography now. Are there any other kind of iterations that have happened based on all these stories you've heard, or
no other new iterations, but our big dream that I think is worth mentioning on the air is that we get somebody to sponsor a longer run, maybe a 2-week run, in a larger scale production. And the second half of that big dream is that we do it in one of the former Bennies before it becomes another thing. It's a big open space. It'd be easy to do a theater show. So if you want to sponsor Bennies the Musical, you can certainly contact us.
We'll flash the phone
Facebook.
number below. Yeah, check them out on Facebook, absolutely. So the show is it 12 original songs?
It's 12 original songs,
And so can you give us, without giving too much away, can you kind of take us a little bit through the main plot? Are we following one person? Is it a team of people? Tell us a little bit about the theme of the show.
So you're following the stories of a few of, really everyone in the cast. You do follow their story in different ways. There are a bunch of employees whose stories you follow. It sort of centers around the manager, whose name is Bess Pulaski. You follow her story, but then all the other characters, you follow their stories too. So it's employees, and then it's also people who shop there. And for the employees, is a lot of them, like older employees, it's too late for them to do a new thing. So what do they do? Or people who have worked there their entire lives, what are they going to do? And people who are very loyal to the store, where are they going to go? So we really do follow everyone's trajectory. And then again, without giving it all away, there's a little ray of hope in the show. In the form of one of the cast members who plays a young kid who's starting their own Rhode Island business.
That
happens too. So it's not a requiem for Bennies.
It's not a drama.
It's not Les Mis for Bennies.
Oh God,
it's not that dark.
So I mean, in true Rhode Island fashion, it is sold out again.
It is sold out again.
So that's always fun. So are you guys planning on kind of continuing, almost like the Saw movies? You'll keep making them.
Yeah, we'll keep making them
until they stop coming. Or?
I do think we would like to see that if we do it again, that we want to be able to, because we are not a traditional theater troupe. We are a sketch comedy troupe, so we don't have a season. We just do, usually our shows are one and done. We do one show on a theme every first Sunday, and then we move on to the next show. So this has been a really unusual experience for us. But I do think people want us to keep doing it. We just want to see it be a bigger production, and we'll need help in order to make that happen. So I hope that we can do it again. The cast loves doing it, and again, we never have the opportunity to do stuff again. So for us, it's a treat. Like, oh, I already know the songs. Like, I don't have to learn a new thing again every month.
They can just kind of
enjoy.
Enjoy their role.
Exactly.
Okay, and so you're very intimately involved, obviously. So is the rest of the troupe on the creation of these songs. Do you have a favorite line or favorite song that you would share with us?
Oh boy, I'm not singing any of the music, so I don't know. I think I will say this, that there's a real diversity of style in the music, which is really nice. It does like a a Broadway musical, there is, you know, a tearjerker ballad in there,
Okay.
and there's sort of a drinking song one of the cast members sings, and
A Benny's drinking song.
there's sort of a sort of a like we will weather the storm. I think the sentiment that I most like is in the song that we have called "Weather the Storm," which talks about, you know, that the fact that Rhode Islanders are resilient and that we have weathered many literal storms and then other losses like Rocky Point and places that we've seen go away that, you know, broke our hearts, but because we're tough New Englanders.
Rocky Point the musical should be.
Right, you know, people have said it. We started becoming afraid that we were going to only create musicals for places that were
Rhode
gone.
Island, musical troupe, Coffee Milk musical.
Coffee Milk the musical, all of that. But I think Weather the Storm, for me, it captures the sentiment of the show the most. Like, we have to coalesce as a community to weather these, you know, these losses that are inevitable with local businesses in an economy that is also largely an e-economy now.
Of course, yeah, that makes sense. And so besides the employees that have turned up and given you great reactions, what other kinds of people are you finding come to these shows, and what's the reaction that you're getting from them?
It's been incredibly positive. We had some of the family members who own the store came to the show, you know, and we didn't know any of that was happening until they were there and came up to us afterwards and spoke to us. It's been an incredible diversity of audience, both in age and demographic, but just the thing that we see across the board is people's passion about this store and this place, because, you know, just when they see the sign, you know, just their reaction to that, it's really something. Like, I think it feels like when we're doing the show, we're all in it together before we play a note. Like, we all get in the room and we all are acknowledging our love for this place. So it's very special. I don't know how to describe it. It's a very unique piece of theater where it feels like the audience owns the show as much as we do.
That makes sense.
And so we're happy about that.
Did anybody in the cast, was anybody not really familiar with Benny's, or was everybody?
We have a couple people in the show who are not locals. We have one guy in the show who's from upstate New York. We have another from Boston, and
So do they think this is a little kooky or what?
well, we intentionally cast the guy from upstate New York, Jimmy Sorrell. We intentionally cast him as the guy who's most obsessed with Benny's because we thought that would be a fun thing for him to do. And he confessed to us that he had only ever set foot in the place once.
One time, yeah, of course.
But yeah, I think, you know, every community has those places. So when we were writing the show, we talked about that a lot, like that every community has those kind of, you know, those family-owned businesses that people are fiercely loyal to. And I think wherever you go in the country, they're there.
You'll find something.
You'll find something like that.
Of course. So if the show sold out, as we said, but you can follow the Empire Revue on Facebook to find out what they've got going on the first Sunday of every month.
First Sunday of every month. The April show is going to be the first Sunday of the month, and that's going to be the Accidental show. So we would love people to come check out one of our monthly sketch comedy shows as well.
So it's, you know, is it the same time every first
8 o'clock, first Sunday every month, except for Super Bowl Sunday.
Except for Super Bowl, yes, because I don't.
Because
Benny's. Who's going?
And who's going to a show?
Who's going to a show on the Super Bowl? They've got enough things to do. Well, Keith, thank you for coming on to talk about Benny's the musical. I hope it's a great success this weekend.
Thanks so much.
And sorry to our viewers who couldn't go, but hopefully,
Me too.
Hopefully it takes a return in the coming months and
Sponsor.
Yeah, or you can just sponsor it, of course. Yeah, we'll all band make a GoFundMe. People love that.
That's
Benny's
not a bad
the
thought.
musical GoFundMe. But Keith, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chelsea.
And we'll be right back, guys. We are going to talk to the Boyle Bros about a Fat Tuesday crawfish boil coming up in just a few minutes.